Hello pet lovers! Welcome to the channel. In this video I want to tell my ragdoll story. Ultimately, pet stories are love stories. How they come into your life and the relationship you develop with them is like any other love story you'll have in your lifetime. As a kid, I was raised by two parents, one of which grew up on a farm. My mother loved to have animals around, and despite us living in a big city where my dad moved her once they fell in love and got married, we always had 2, 3, maybe 4 pets at any given time, some of which were cats. 15 to be precise, over the course of my life living with my parents, and a few that she acquired after I moved away from her home, but they still felt like part of my family because they were there in her home, and I had a relationship with her pets as well. I remember in my teens, mid-teens perhaps, I told her on multiple occasions I really wanted a big cat, and she would mention the Maine Coons to me, and I had never seen one. As I got into my 20s, I looked around to see what these cats look like, and while certainly beautiful, and I love their colorways with the tabby markings especially, they weren't exactly what I wanted when I said I wanted a big cat. I wanted something squishy and cuddly, almost like the stuffed animals of my youth. Unfortunately, my brother passed as a young adult, and as you can imagine, my mother was grief-stricken and honestly never recovered from that, again, as you might imagine. About 4 months after my brother passed, something told me to get her a kitten. My mother loved to mother things, and her existing cats that she had, 2 to be exact, they were getting old, certainly not as playful as they were in their youth, and slept quite a bit. And I thought having a new kitten to take care of and to play with and entertain her more would be a good idea. So I put the word out to my friends, and I immediately got a response. There was a nearby veterinarian that had acquired 2 cats that were left at the dumpster outside of the office. I wasted no time going there to meet these kittens and see if one of them might be right for my mother. These were darling tabby cats, and the male, he came right to me and was climbing all over me, purring, very friendly cat, and I thought this would truly warm her heart. So I made the arrangements and took the cat immediately to my mother's home, and she was delighted. The cat turned out to be an incredible part of our whole family. He had the personality that liked all people, trusting, and enjoyed company of anyone who would give it to him. Just a very sweet animal. In fact, after a few years of living without a pet, I wanted that particular cat of my to take to my own home, but of course she would not give up this special kitty. As years went by, my mother became to the point that she could not stay in her home and had to be moved to senior care, and I was happy to take that sweet little tabby and her other cat that she had at the time to my own home. The 2 boys really enjoyed each other, and I would absolutely not abide anyone else having those cats. And I gave them the best life I could for their last time on Earth. They both had some advancing senior cat illnesses, and I got them veterinary care. But in the time between bringing my mother's cats to my own home, I had a short stint, I'd say about 1.5 years, doing some professional pet sitting from time to time as my schedule allowed, just to get a pet fix. One of the clients had a ragdoll cat, and it was love at first sight for me. This was a 21-pound male, friendly, whip smart, and that big size that I had always pictured in my mind, but never had seen anything like it. I didn't know what kind of cat was possible. Then, as a little more time passed, I had 2 more clients with ragdoll cats. And again, both were males, and the males, as you would imagine, are larger. And I always find male cats to be generally friendlier overall. Now, there are certainly sweet female cats, but some are a little more prickly. But I wanted size. And I was also noticing how intelligent these cats were, and their personalities were really distinctive from the other cats I had pets and other cats that I had had in my own life. And I began researching breeders and trying to understand what an ethical breeder was and how to find a good one. And it was a little exasperating. In fact, I would go hard for 2 or 3 days doing some research and not really finding a suitable breeder that met my criteria of who I wanted to support. And I gave up, and then I would look again, and I still couldn't find one. At this point, I had taken in my mother's cat, so I stopped the search because I had cats now to take care of. And I loved having these cats in my home, and I knew I was ready to be a permanent cat mom. The first one passed, and it was extremely difficult because it was the tabby. And I still miss him. He was so special to our family. And I grieved for about 2 months, and I had found a breeder that met my criteria. And I was ready for a kitten. And I knew the other cat that was still alive, he would be perfectly fine with having another cat in the home, a new cat, a kitten even, because he had always been around other cats, and he was very relaxed and easygoing. I went to the breeder's website, and there he was. I knew I wanted a blue ragdoll, whether it be a blue color point or a blue bicolor. And she had just one. I immediately called her, and I said, I can come tomorrow. And she said, he's available. I'll keep him for you. He was meant to go to France to be in a breeding program there, and the breeder changed her mind at the last minute, and that's why he was available. I got in my car and I drove a few hours, and there he was. I couldn't believe how beautiful of a cat he was. These cats are breathtaking. And he was a little feisty. At this point, he was 16 weeks, and typically a breeder will let them go at 13 weeks. They should not let them go before that. He was a little fussy on the way home. It's a 4-hour drive, but he calmed down after about 20 minutes. And when I got him home, I put him in the bathroom to just let him kind of acclimate and get comfortable to the new smells. And I knew my other cat wouldn't bother him much, but I just wanted him in a contained area because I had taken him away from everything he ever knew. And I sat in there with him and played a little, and after some time he would not abide staying in there any longer, so he came out within about 3 hours of him being in my home. And even that first night he slept near me. He was not sleeping through the night, but up and down, and everything went really well. He was so well behaved and attentive to me, and I could tell he really liked being around people, which is typical of ragdolls. After just a few days, he would begin to tackle the other cat when the other cat would wake up and walk by. He clearly wanted a playmate, but a second ragdoll would not be introduced until this cat had lived out his life. And that happened about 8 months later. So after I grieved the second cat, I went back for my next ragdoll. Meantime, what I was noticing about this first cat, named Siggy, I call him the Biscuit because he was so light and fluffy, and of course that's not the case now. He's heavy. He's still fluffy though. But how intelligent he was. He wanted to learn things. And within his first year of life, not a year with me, but his calendar age of 1 year, the pair bonding began, and I had never pair bonded with an animal before. He would look to me in any new situation to watch my voice, to judge my motions, and he learns discipline very quickly. I only need to teach him something once to not do it again, or to learn it as a trick, to learn it as a companion that you live with. And I realized while I have them to be my companion, I need to be their companion too, and to make sure I give them the time and the love that they demand from me. I got a second ragdoll, as I started to explain earlier, and he has a very roll off his shoulders type of personality. Nothing bothers him. And as a result, he very easily acclimated to being with myself and Siggy. At first, I had been gone 8 hours to get the cat. Siggy was very upset when I got home because I had never left him for that long. And I returned with another cat. He had a little bit of hissing, but that quickly subsided, and he began grooming the kitten within about 18 hours of him being here. And the kitten just kind of walked by when Siggy would curiously hiss and sniff at him. I could tell he wanted to like this new kitten, but he was unsure about him. But they've been best friends within less than 24 hours since Finn has come to our home. And here I am, 6 years later, with these two beautiful animals that honestly are the best thing that ever happened in my life. I hope you'll come back and see some of our adventures, and as I show you healthcare and grooming, which, as you can imagine, is quite a bit of, I don't want to call it a chore. My cats generally enjoy it, and certainly it's necessary, but it is something to be considered when you have this breed. Perhaps the only drawback, even though I don't consider it a drawback, I love the fluffy hair, and I love the love the three of us share together.